Welcome to ePathshala lecture series for MArch students. In this planting design module, we will be seeing about the visual characters of plants. In this particular module, we will see about the visual characteristics of plants, and then we will see what are the different types of visual characteristics that we could observe in plants as such in general. And then we would look at one particular aspect, one particular visual character which is form in the planting material that we are going to see, and also understand what are the different types of visual forms in this particular module. So, it is a extensive classification and we shall go one by one as we go around. Visual characteristics of plants. Planting, which is primarily referring to the structure as well as to the creating space, will also endow that space with its decorative visual qualities. The details of foliage, bark, flowers and fruit all contribute to the quality and character of the space, even though they are secondary to the basic structural framework. Every plant has its own visual character, and all by means of this visual character, the spatial structure of a particular place is being created, and for the designer or the architect who is doing the job, it is important to understand and employ these visual characters, so that not only they perform the function functionally, but also an aesthetical improvement is being done to the entire space. The appearance of an individual plant or a group or a plant group can be analyzed in terms of the visual properties of form, line, texture and color. So, we shall be looking at these visual characters of and observing them in plants and classifying them accordingly, so that we will have a general understanding as to how we can employ these visual characters and what uses these visual characters give in the designed landscape environment. So, we shall be looking at form as well as line and pattern and the texture and the color. So, in this module and in the next module we shall see line, the line that is generated by the plants as well as the form that is seen in the plants and how they can be used in the design landscape. So, it is important for us to have an understanding of the form itself, and also understanding and appreciating the variety of forms that we have will help us to design the landscape by mixing up the plants in a very proper and special way. Visual characters of plants. Although they are more abstract than special effects like flower, fruit and autumn display, these properties are fundamental to understanding composition and essential if we are to combine plants to form a visually effective whole. So, it is important to have a good understanding of these particular types of characters, but also one needs to understand that the cultural associations and the meanings of plants have the potential to influence the success of the project, and the designer needs knowledge and sensitivity in order to respond and to reflect the cultural aspects of the planting preferences. So, it is important that not only we understand the visual character, but there is also a subjective response that a plant has or a plant gets from a particular user, because he has some kind of connect whether culturally or historically to a particular plant material, and how that particular plant material starts to influence the mind of the user and how it starts to influence the life of those who are in that particular space. All these needs to be understood and proper knowledge must be applied, so that the design landscape is very effective. Therefore, it becomes necessary for the landscape architect to understand the cultural sensitivities of the plants chosen, especially in the case he or she is not part of the user group. So, the cultural sensitivities of the user or the clients must be taken into consideration when we are dealing with the design landscape, and such visual characters play an important role in establishing that particular visual image or improving the aesthetical quality of the particular design landscape. People might have had different interpretations and tastes, but they will more or less agree on features such as habit, leaf, shape, and even though perhaps to a lesser degree. In another sense, there are different types of people, and each of them can have their own perspective of how the design landscape goes about. So, it is important that we understand how these kind of designed materials, the materials that we are using in terms of the planting, also are interpreted by the local people and how they are being embraced by the local people, so that the planting material is not seen as a single entity, but as a part of the entire social setup as well. On the other hand, there is also a subjective interpretation of plants. Many plants have strong associations and symbolic meanings both for individuals and for groups of people with a common culture. So, we shall see the first main visual character, which is form, and form is the three dimensional shape of a plant. So, that is how simply or how easily we can define a particular aspect of form in a particular plant. It can be seen from various directions and distances, and these affect our viewpoints, and scales affect our comprehension of the form. So, the form is being comprehended at various angles, at various distances, and depending on from where we look at a particular plant, at what distance we look at a particular plant, that is where the that is how our the planting form is being envisaged, and how and that can be used to a certain extent very effectively as to how the plant material itself has to be set up in a particular place, and the visual quality of the place can be designed understanding the form of the plant. A plant's form can be explored at close quarters, or rather the space around the form of the plant can be explored. This space can become intricate and entangled with the single solid form of the plant. Form is an important aesthetic criteria for species selection. Form is built upon line and direction, and both are bounded by line and or silhouette. So, by seeing the silhouette of a particular plant, we could understand what kind of form it is. Thus, mass and form, line and silhouette must be considered together. So, it all the visual characters of silhouette, of lines and form, and also even the density or the massing of that particular plant, all these put together finally express the form of a particular plant. We should also remember that a plant's inherited form can be dramatically affected by environmental factors, such as including the presence of other plants and especially light levels and wind exposure. We shall consider the following plant forms and assumption of them in favorable conditions for our study in classification, and it is thereby it becomes important to also have an understanding, parallel understanding as to, like, forms are intricate for a particular plant. Every plant has its own form, but it is also possible for the forms of these plants to be altered by any kind of environmental factors. Maybe it could be a flood, it could be a cyclone, maybe extreme weather conditions, heat or cold, frost. All these play a role in how a plant expresses itself, or how a plant grows, and how it shows out its form. Now, we shall see about the different types of plant forms in terms of its classification. The first we see here is the prostrate and the carpeting forms. Prostrate and especially carpeting forms hug the ground surface and expresses rather than hide its micro topography. So, you can see these plants they hug the ground surface, and they run parallelly to the ground. They can be used to emphasize detailed ground modeling, and their low stature makes them a successful foundation, allowing taller upright plants to grow through to form striking plant forms and tall specimens. So, these act as good elements upon which taller plants can be set, and they act as a very good base, green base or a very softer base on which the taller plants can sit. So, and because they hug the contour of the land, they are also good elements, good types which would highlight the contour of the land, or even the topographical condition of a particular land is being expressed by means of these kind of forms. Prostrate plants. A number of shrubs and perennial herbaceous plants have a distinctly prostrate or flat spreading form. These include ground hugging creeping species that spread by the layering or rooting of their prostrate stems at intervals, and that rarely produce ascending stems. So, you can see that these are ground hugging species. All these are being created by small lateral stems which arise from the bottom, and from there the plant, the leaf patterns and all evolve. So, from their prostrate stems at intervals, these leaf patterns and the flowering patterns happen, and that is one character of this kind of prostrate plants. Carpeting plants, we mean that with a neat dense canopy of constant height close to the ground level. So, prostrate plants the lateral stems go very close to the ground, and that is how they spread. By carpeting plants, it means a particular canopy height is being there, maybe 6 inches or 8 inches. The carpeting plants also have a are fast spreaders, and also they increase by means of vigorous underground stems. So, all the underground stems grow very vigorously, and the shoots of these carpeting plants are mostly hidden by their leaves, and the plant present a dense foliage that follows the surface of the ground. So, we have seen that kind of character in the pictures that we saw. As carpeting plants decline in vigor with age, many can be rejuvenated by clipping them over or moving them to near ground level with a rotatory cutter or flail. So, you can see some examples of carpeting plants like the Zoysia japonica, which is the grass, and you can see that as you can see it highlights the contour of the land. The contours of the land are cleanly highlighted because of its character of hugging the ground. Another example, you can see this is a carpeting plant which is about 6 to 8 inches in height, Myroporum parviflorum folium, and this you can see that these it forms a thick bed, and in many cases it can be also mixed up with different kinds of textures like rocks and pebbles, and also create very interesting landscape characters. The next form that we see here is the hummock form. The term hummock is useful to refer to clump forming herbaceous plants and smaller shrubs, and dome to larger shrubs and trees that have a similar shape. So, here what we see as hummock, it is identified in smaller shrubs and in smaller plants, where you can see a dome kind of clump which is being formed by the entire planting structure. So, we see in the picture here an example in Hamelia patterns, and how you can see the dome kind of shape, and that is called as the hummock form. The hummock form, a similar ground covering hummock form, is typical of many sub-shrubs, plants with a woody stem base below herbaceous growth that may die back in a cold winter, and dwarf shrubs. So, all the sub-shrubs, dwarf shrubs, this lower height variety of shrubs are all come with exhibit a dome kind of pattern. They come under the classification of a hummock form. These spread by lateral growth of branches from the main stems, or in some cases propagate new plants by the layering of these stems. So, you can see a few examples of the hummock form that is being seen here, that is the Schefflera arboricola, and Schefflera is one of the examples. Here you can see lantana, you can see the one which is more or less like a dome kind of structure that you can see here, and these are the hummock forms that we can see. So, when we start to look at such a dome shape on top of a tree, and that is what we call as a dome form. So, a dome form is very similar to a hummock form, but it is identified in a tree level or in a taller shrub level. So, that is the way that we would understand and classify it like. So, this is the larger version of the shape of the hummock. A domed round form is perhaps the most frequent among larger broadleaf shrubs and trees. In case of trees, this dome is normally supported on a single massive bole from which the lateral branches arise, and thereby the dome is being created by means of the other branches which come from the main stem. So, the canopy of a shrub normally develops from a number of main stems arising at or close to ground level. So, you can see example in Phylicium decipens. So, you can see the dome form which is being very clearly expressed in this particular example. A dome is often the mature form of species that displays an upright habit in juvenile growth phases. In forests, the canopy domes of tall trees are held high above the ground because of suppression of the lower branches. In urban settings where the crown has been raised to allow circulation below, a similar shape can be seen. An asymmetrical dome can result from competition for light or exposure to wind. So, we can see that the dome structure is it has an upright habit, and also we can see that it is the mature form of a particular species, and at the same time, as I discussed earlier, it's like even some environmental factors can cause a dome to be a kind of asymmetrical shape. because the plant might have a competition for light, or it can be exposed to wind coming in a particular direction. So, these are all ways in which we need to be able to have our eyes open and be able to see and ascertain what kind of form it is. Hammock and dome forms are useful for their visual stability. They can be used as anchors, balancing and stabilizing more lively and dramatic forms. They have been traditionally used as full stops at the end of a border or planting that needs containment or conclusion. So, these are very good edging plants, very good border plants, so that we can define a border, a walkway along a walkway, or even forming a good taller base for a tall tree bole which is there at the center, like you can see the example of Ixora chinensis, how the dome shape. Some of the dome forms, the mango tree which is a good example of a dome shape, and also the Ficus benjamina at the tree level as well as the shrub level, tall shrub level, they can be shaped, they express very good dome kind of forms. Then we have what we call as the tussock form, also known as the bunch form. This shape is common among monocotyledonous plants, including many grasses and sedges. So, all the grass varieties that we can see, they come under the tussock form. The overall outline is similar to a hammock, being rounded, but the foliage arises in a tight bunch from the ground. It comes from a tight bunch from the ground and it arches outwards. In respect, it is similar to the erect and arching forms. So, that is also important to understand. Tussocks are more ascending and therefore energetic in their visual character. These forms often leave small spaces between the plants, and in their natural growth communities, and these niches are usually filled by smaller plants that benefit from the partial shelter and shade between the larger plants. These forms have in many cases evolved in exposed environment such as subalpine or coastal, and their compact form is a response to the effects of wind. Some species, such as many of the tussock habit plants, retain their form well in shaded or crowded situations, while others are drawn into a more irregular habit if mixed closely with other plants. The latter group should be planted with sufficient space around them. So, we can see a very good character of tussock forms like the grass varieties. So, they are very airy and very energetic in their expression, and it allows a lot of air and also gaps, and when we set it up with other grouping other groupings of plants, probably these gaps will not be expressed as much as possible. So, we can see example here in Festuca ovina, and also another tussock form that you see, the Penicitum species. So, you can see all comes from a tight bunch from the lower level, and the plants, the form is expressed by the arching form that you can see here. So, more seen in the grass varieties that we can see here. Then we have what we call as the erect or the ascending form, whereas dome rounded trees are produce a high proportion of spreading and low angle branches. Erect ascending form is characterized by a majority of vertical or sharp angled main stems and branches. Erect shrubs are often multi-stemmed, with any side branches being comparatively short and wide angled. So, these kind of plants exhibit a very strong upward rising erect form in the landscape. This habit gives the plant an overall shape that is upright with a strong component of ascending line. The appearance can rather be stiff with a mature canopy head aloft. As they mature, erect shrubs tend to either remain rather separate in their appearance, or if they have a suckering habit, form dense thickets over large areas. For example, banana and the stoloniferous bamboos. So, we can see they have a very unique character, and they can be quite leggy in their expression. So, when planted on marsh shrubs with erect form, create a small dense forest of stems, and these can be quite leggy and bare, and they can be drawn up towards the light. These conditions, under these conditions, the plants, many of them specimen qualities, and become more space fillers at the canopy level, leaving bare stems and bare soil below. So, you can see that above the ground level they occupy the space, these kind of forms, whereas the lower level below canopy level will be more or less bare. So, we could use proper plants to fill up those kind of spaces. Even if used singly or in large groups, erect growing plants benefit from close planting of lower species to use the space left around the base if it is not needed for circulation or a hard landscape. So, they could be good materials or good elements to be used where you need a circulation space below and you have a canopy space above canopy space that needs to be filled in. So, an erect form does the job by the stem which goes up and it fills up the canopy above the human eye level. Erect ascending form is found at a smaller scale among the foliage of some herbaceous plants and shrubs and is most effective when the leaves are large or sword shaped. Examples include species and cultivars of Strzelecea, Dorianthus, agave, yucca and iris. All these are examples. You can see the very strong patterns that are evolving. They are most striking appearance, giving very energetic and something that defies gravity, and thereby these kind of plant forms make a very interesting statement in the landscape that is being designed. Some of the examples of ascending form, the bamboo, the Philostachys nigra, and also Polypodium. You can see the vertical lines, the ascending forms that you can see in this particular plant species. And here you can see some important impact of form in the visual landscape, like how form is being created, and you can see some, how the plant is, the dome shapes are being arranged. As we saw in the earlier level, like there is a lot of circulation space that is being created because of the erect form which is being done. Here you have a dome form which is there, and the two avenues, it makes a lot of, it clears up a lot of space at the lower level for the plants to come up, and also for the pathway to happen. So, you can see a colonnade of trees that are there on either sides. Here you can see another erect type of character which goes up, and the plants shoots which comes up and goes up in a straight pattern. Whereas the lower level is being, you can see that the lower level is being treated or covered with low height plants as such. So, more of verticality being brought into the space, and the edges are punctuated, the corners are punctuated by means of a mix of small shrubs and tall shrubs that you can see here in this particular landscape forms. Here you can see another different type of character where we have a mix of different types of forms. Here you in front you see the tussock kind of forms which are there closer to the ground level. There we have in the foreground one can see the carpeting species, the prostrate growing character of plants, and here we can see more or less a carpeting plant which is about 6 to 8 inches thick, and at the back we can see a hammock type of character, more showing an ascending form kind of situation, but forms a really big clump, thereby as we saw earlier, it creates that particular edging, it creates that particular full stop at this particular corner where the hardscape stops for the dining deck, and at the background we can see a very strong ascending forms of these grass varieties that you see. So, these are most striking, as you can see when perceived at from this angle, they are most striking, and they seem to keep going taller, and they also act as a foreground for the taller trees which are there in the backdrop. So, and in another level we can see here also the trained forms which are there, how the form as such, when whether it is a cone or a clump, or even for that matter even the ground carpet which is being established, all these things are can play a vital role as how the form can impact a visual landscape. So, different forms, mixing them up and working around with them and placing them in the right locations, all play a very important role in how the landscape evolves and how the landscape is going to be visualized. So, we see form as a visual character here. A lot of areas in which forms are being revealed. So, we have more forms to be seen, which we would see in the next module, and but as a summary for this particular module, we see that the different forms of the trees that we have seen has a tremendous role in shaping the structural character of the planted landscape. So, form gives the particular quality or the gives the spatial look for that particular quality, and also increases the aesthetical quality of that particular landscape. Not only they have their own functional qualities, but the aesthetical considerations of form should be thoughtfully brought in by the landscape architect by choosing the right kind of species, and also one needs to understand the character of the form itself. So, it is becomes very vital that we try to classify it rightly, we try to understand what kind of form, whether it is erect or it is descending, or even if it is a diagonal kind of form, whether it goes along the ground or it goes away from the ground, higher or lower. So, all these things really do matter as to how the form is being established. So, one can establish a strong design landscape by careful selection and mixing up of plant forms, and by giving more attention to the positional aspect of the plant to highlight the form which impacts the visual space. So, it becomes very critical and necessary for this form to take over in the design landscape, and by using the different types of forms at the different height levels, by understanding what height a particular form is being expressed, maybe below knee height level, maybe it might be waist to eye level, or even at the hip level or above eye level. Forms have to be understood with context to from where we are going to look at these forms at what angles is these forms are being will be used. All these things are important and very important and need to be understood in the right way, so that we place them in the right places and create the necessary spaces that are required for the planting, for the design for the planting to be established, as well as for the designed landscape intent to be brought out in a particular space. So, form as a visual character, yes, it certainly has a very important point in terms of how it is establishing a particular space. So, we shall look at more forms in the next module, and thank you.